Hello, hello. Welcome to today's episode of the TRG Agency podcast. Once again, I have a very special friend. It's amazing that all these cool people keep jumping on. Super excited to have a conversation today with Caroline Boutte, Senior Producer of Influencer Marketing at Collectively. Caroline, thank you so much for jumping on. Super excited to talk all things casting with you today, which is a very fun topic for people in our industry. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, we've worked together now across a couple of different roles and agencies, and something that always comes up is this sort of black box topic known as casting. So, for a little bit of a step back, you and I were talking right before the podcast started. We've both been in the business for a couple of years now, and just seeing how much it's changed. Casting, when we were beginning, was a lot around followers. And we're looking for this follower range, and that's sort of the end all be all figure that us as agents were looking at when we were thinking about signing talent, and brands and brand agencies were looking at when activating that talent. I guess my first question is, can you walk us through how has that changed, and what are some of those figures that when you're casting now, you're looking at when presenting to the brands and activating talent for campaigns?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that casting has evolved so much, especially brands are looking at more than just follower count. And everything truly starts with strategy. And once we understand the audience and campaign objective for a campaign, we start looking at some of those other signals aside from follower count. So we'll look into things like audience demographics, engagement quality, creative style, past brand partnerships, brand safety, and audience trust. Those are all things that really matter whenever we're building out a list of creators to share with the brand. And we also ask ourselves, can this creator execute the creative vision that we want? Maybe someone has really incredible numbers, like a huge following, but they've never made the type of content we're asking for. Meanwhile, another creator with a smaller audience might have content that is already up the alley of what we're looking for. And so that is usually the stronger partnership is whenever it's kind of the merge of all of these things, right? The creative execution is there. And then, of course, reach is important, but it isn't the most important thing whenever we're casting.
Yeah, and you brought up that term creative vision, which I think is such an interesting phrase because so often in these podcasts, we've been hearing stories from people on the brand agency side of the brand brings a brief, and the important thing is to follow that brief. And we hear horror stories about creators not following the briefs. How do you sort of balance? You want that creator to explore and bring to life that vision while also making sure they're accomplishing the goals the brand has set out for the campaign.
For sure. And I think the balance, again, starts before the creative development. It really is when we're chatting with the brand and developing that strategy. The first question we ask is, what is the brand trying to accomplish? And then what are the non-negotiables and where's the flexibility? Once we
Mm-hmm.
understand that, we can identify creators that are a natural fit for that message instead of trying to force creators into something that doesn't really resonate with what they do on their platform. And of course, throughout the process, there's still creative conversations because brands have opinions, creators have opinions, and we want to make sure that we're, finding that common ground between the two, because ultimately, everyone wants the same thing. They want the content to perform well, and content performs best when it feels authentic to the creator and still accomplishes the brand messaging and objectives.
Do you have an example of sort of that misalignment? What the brand wants, a creator that doesn't actually fit that, but there's like an external pressure to just make it a match, and then sort of watching a partnership just sort of implode because it just didn't make any sense from the get go?
I mean, for sure, like there's definitely been situations where we've cast someone thinking that they could be a really good fit, and then executionally, it's like, whoa, this is not going like we thought it would. And then we have the brand in our ear being like, we don't like this content, or this is not like what we wanted. And then we also have the creator getting frustrated because it's V3 of this content. And so I think that just again, our job is to act as the middleman and kind of humanize each side to each other and make sure that, the brand understands like, hey, like they're doing everything that they can to execute within their own ability. And then on the creator side, like, can we just do X, Y, or Z to get this across the finish line?
Yeah. One of my favorite, I guess we're now back to recording, so we'll just sort of go back in.
Okay, cool.
One of my favorite parts of working with brands that or agencies that don't have like a specific influencer marketing division is when you get an agreement and it has a clause in there that's like we would request 6 rounds of
Oh my gosh.
revisions and going to the brands and being like, that feels high. And they're like, we don't get it. It shouldn't be that hard to implement. And it's like you being on the brand agency side, me being on the talent side, we know what it's like to go to that creator and say, V4 time, get excited. And them looking at you and saying, couldn't we have just incorporated all these edits, 3 videos ago? And so speaking that language, that leads me to something that I was very curious, and I think collectively does an incredible job. And this is a little bit of a newer phenomenon in the industry. Is there was a lot of one-off partnerships that we saw happening for so long. These brands, and I've even heard mandates from some brands in what they express to brand agencies of once we work with a creator once, we don't want to work with them again. Continue to get fresh blood in the pipeline. We want to be able to connect with different audiences with everything becoming so sort of social centric. I do think that in person's having a real moment coming back. And brands want to work and really build relationships with creators. So, from your vantage point as senior producer, where you're communicating with the client team and the brand team and the creators, you mentioned sort of bringing all sides together. How do you bring all those sides together, not only for, hey, we're going to do this partnership one time, but we actually want to work together and bring different elements of these partnerships in and hopefully grow them in the future?
So we really look at campaigns as an opportunity to have multiple touch points. Um, and that can be inclusive of organic, paid, events. Even we have at Collectively paid organic, which is essentially creator content that is paid for by the brand but lives organically on their feed. So it's not going to be boosted with any paid budget. Um, and so the strategic thinking is really about creating a cohesive consumer experience so that people are, able to experience the campaign and the overarching messaging that we're going for at multiple touch points without consciously thinking about it. So maybe they're introduced to a product via an influencer and then targeted for an ad, and then they go in store and they see it. Like all of those are building on each other and their overall experience with the brand. With campaigns, some brands do want to work with new creators and, have because they don't want to oversaturate a creator's page, right? They don't want it to be like, okay, this is so heavily branded with our brand and it just looks inauthentic at that point. So I think there is an element of, wanting to make sure that the timing and pace that a brand shows up feels natural and organic. And then another piece of it too is, building out those longer term partnerships though, so that that also is the case, right? So that it's not just a one time shows up on their page, one off partnership. It looks and feels more authentic whenever this is a product the creator uses on an ongoing basis. It shows up on their page, more than one time, but not, it's really about striking that balance of making sure that the brand is coming through in a really genuine way so that the creator's audience can feel that without oversaturating it. And I think that more brands are leaning into building these longer term partnerships because of that, right? They don't want to have these one off campaigns and then, keep it pushing on to the next creator because essentially they do want to establish like that brand loyalty on their feed.
Is there a campaign you've worked on recently that you feel encapsulates trying to find that balance and succeeding?
I think that Honestly, Dove just does a really great job of having, you know, influencers be a part of their overall mission and core and strategy because there could be a creator that I work with on one campaign, like a paid campaign that we then think of for a gifting because we're like, oh my God, this mailer is exactly her vibe. She would
Hmm.
love it. Even though we're not paying her to post about it, she's able to kind of, enjoy the brand in another way. So I think that it's just, continuing to build on those relationships. And once you do work with a creator, especially if it's been like a really solid partnership, they've, nailed the brief, they've, been great at communicating. I think if like once we have that creator in mind, it's really easy to keep them front of mind for future opportunities as well, because you just get to know them in another personal way. And then it's fun to bring them back for new opportunities, especially whenever we get, briefed in on things that can be kind of niche. And we're looking for XYZ creator that's like a super niche thing that you're like, dang. And then you're like, oh, wait, actually, I know someone who fits that. Yeah.
Well, and for people that are trying to get into the industry, excel in the industry, whether it be on the creator front, on the manager front, on the brand agent, brand rep side, I think the point that you had mentioned there, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that point of view, it's not always the content that makes the partnership really sing. There are
Yeah.
agents that you work with, there are creators that you work with, that there has to be a certain level of competence on the content creation side, but there's a whole variety of other factors to why you want to keep working with people. What are some of those areas that you really value as a brand agent rep for when I see this, it makes me really want to work with these people again in the future?
I think that for me, the biggest one is communication. Like, truly, as long as a creator or a creator's manager can communicate with me, hey, my product's delayed, so I'm going to be a little late on, delivering this asset, or I got stuck in a different country and like I'm not going to be home to film in time. Like, as long as you're communicating with me, I'm able to then, stick up for you to the client and then be
Mm-hmm.
proactive. I think that sometimes, it's tough whenever creators just aren't as forward thinking in that way. But I mean, that's really the biggest thing is, be proactive and communicate with me, and then I can be like your advocate.
What stood out about collectively? What sort of drew you to them in the first place? And since being there, what have been some of your favorite experiences about working at the company?
So, what initially drew me to Collectively is they're woman owned and they are remote first. And truly, that comes through in every aspect of the business. I want to say it was maybe my second or third month that I was working here, and they have an annual, they call it Camp Collectively. And so I was able to go in person and meet all of these new colleagues, and the same kind of energy that I get in a remote setting is it was the same in person. And so it was just really great to see a company that really wants to pour into their own talent and make sure that, you know, of course, we're all remote and we don't get to interact with each other very often. So they want to bring us together. They want to have our C-suite do panels and talk to us about the future of the company and really make sure that we are all up to speed about, what Collectively is doing and the work that we don't always get to see because we're all kind of on our own teams. So it's really fun to see everyone come together, everyone celebrate each other's work. And the thing that I've loved most has been the people for sure. Like everyone that I work with has been incredible, super helpful whenever onboarding and kind of getting up to speed on everything new. And then yeah, it's been really incredible.
Yeah, that's well, I'm curious. This was something we were going to talk about in the rapid fire, but it makes maybe more sense to have it be a topic here. You mentioned on those panels, when you guys think about the future of collectively, what are you hearing from your C-suite, and what are things that you, just having now been in the industry for half a decade, are excited about when we look forward to the next half decade of this business?
Yeah, I think that is a great question. I think that what makes me excited is creators are already evolving so much. As you mentioned earlier on, from when we started to now, the industry has changed so much. And I think that creators are going to continue to become even more integrated into every part of marketing. We're already seeing them be beyond being content creators. More and more of them are becoming entrepreneurs, launching their own businesses, their own brands, and they're building something that's so much bigger than just a social following. And I think we're going to continue to see brands invest in those longer term creator partnerships instead of one off campaigns, and collectively is really championing creators as not just a silo and more so as a really like core piece to marketing and being involved in so many of other marketing touch points, PR, events, TVCs. Like we really are wanting to put creators in the mix of it all because that is when marketing it can be so fun and just cross-functional and effective because it's people connecting with other people.
It's been one of the biggest surprises of this podcast that you can sort of see a generational divide where there's a certain segment of people that are more sort of industry professionals and veterans that have had careers in other that are in other places that have a lot of experience in PR. And we sort of have two series here. We have our flagship TRG agency podcast, and then we're releasing sort of a young people in creator marketing podcast. And this being their first job, they all started in the creator economy. They haven't
Oh,
worked in
that's
other
so
places.
interesting.
So you see sort of, hey, the route of I was a publicist, I was working with traditional celebrities, and now I work in with influencers. And then you sort of see the younger people say, what do you mean? I've been working with influencers the whole time. Why would I ever work with someone that wasn't an influencer? So
That's
to
so
see how
interesting.
those paths have played off of each other is cool. And I feel like you and I really thread the needle where this was sort of an industry in its infancy when we came into it.
Mhm.
And now to see where it's happened, even in again 5, 10 years, and there was obviously a creator economy before, but sort of the way that it's matured in such a short amount of time is incredible.
It's so it's so interesting to see because I actually started my career in PR and
Amazing.
it was a well-oiled machine, right? Like there was press releases, events. I mean, everything was just really like to a T. And then creators came
Hmm.
in and disrupted it. And it wasn't just
Yeah.
journalists and celebrities who were defining culture. It was these creators who were making their own online communities. And it's been so fascinating to see that shift and
Hmm.
to see the impact that this industry has had across marketing in general. It's been really, really interesting.
Well, that sort of leads into our rapid fire here. So let's do that. And again, I can't thank you enough for your time. As a reminder, rapid fire, meaning rapid, first thing that comes to mind, there's no such thing as a right answer. So you sort of having been both a consumer and now on the creator side, what is your personal favorite platform for to use on social media?
My personal favorite right now is Pinterest. I have to be honest.
I'm stunned. It's
I
the first
love
time we've
making
gotten that
boards.
answer. I love it. I love
I
it.
love making boards. I love you can make like vision boards on there and kind of piece things. It's just it is the best way for me to turn off my brain after a work day. Maybe it's because I am like on social like
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts for work that I'm like I need to like turn my brain off and so I go to Pinterest. I love it.
Well, the first thought that came to mind when you said Pinterest is you don't spend enough time like looking at proxy talent, like putting them on boards to present to agents. Like you just need to do more of that in your free time. But hey, I guess you love what you do because you do it a lot.
I
Uh,
do.
Platform you feel when you're talking to brands that are they're the most bullish on in the creator economy for the next 5 years.
For sure, YouTube Shorts. I mean, I can't tell you how much, even within the past couple of years, YouTube Shorts has come up as a platform and more brands wanting to invest in it and test and learn. Um, I think it's on the horizon for sure.
What is your favorite corporate buzzword that you have now started using in everyday life?
I think that, I mean, there's so many good ones. A circle back, a take it offline. There's so many good ones that just slip up in the day-to-day life.
I was at a pool party this past weekend and I looked at someone and said we should explore synergies. And the second I said it,
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, oh my God, I would not be friends with myself
That
if
is
I
so
said something
funny.
like that. And the guy that I was talking to looked at me and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go anywhere else and talk to anyone else because I'm not interested in exploring synergies and hopping on a call next week
Oh my
to see
gosh.
if our business interests align. Last but not least, it's your birthday next week. We're
It
so
is.
excited. You're going on a trip. So this was the obligatory question. Where are you most excited to travel? Tell everyone where you're off to.
I'm very excited to be off to Nice, France. I'll be on the French Riviera, enjoying the water, just chilling. I'm gonna, decompress. I'll have a Hugo Spritz. It'll be incredible.
Everyone copied you. They went to Cannes for marketing. You had already been on it. You had this
Oh yeah, it
birthday
was
thing
already on
all
my
lined up.
calendar.
Yeah, this is crazy. Caroline, you're the best. Before we get you out of here, where can everyone follow along with all the incredible work that you and your team at Collectively are doing?
Yes, you can check us out collectivelyinc.com and then collectively on Instagram as well to check out some of our really incredible campaigns. We've got some really, really cool stuff in the works, and we work with amazing clients. So check us out.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again to some extent to talk about campaigns, but I think far more importantly, at least for my purpose, to hear just the day by day of your niece trip.
Of course,
Gotta do
naturally.
everything there. Caroline, you're the best. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye bye.